Hello, welcome to my video. Today I'm going to show you some acrylic markers I bought, all of which were from Temu and were of varying quality. The first ones were from a brand called Kissen. I got 12 colours for £2.87. They came in a cute case. They were all a brush tip marker. This is also the first time I've used acrylic markers, so I don't really have anything to compare them to except themselves. But what I did notice is these were pretty opaque, very vibrant colours. Not really colours I would use, but they were bright. The white, pink, and yellow weren't as strong as the others. The purple already seemed kind of dry, but I think that's probably a quality control issue. On white paper, they did all look pretty amazing. You can see how juicy and vibrant the colours are here. And I also used a couple of colours to overlay over the top to see how they would do. The white didn't look good to me here anyway. But overall, they look pretty bright. They did kind of just look like regular markers, I'm not gonna lie. Doing an actual drawing is the real test for me anyway. So I did just want to do a couple of tests to see how the colours would overlay on each other. For brown paper, I found that the blue underneath was a really good undertone for the red to make the pomegranate. The white was kind of transparent, but with a few layers it worked really well. And I found that to be the same with a few of the other colours. But a few coats is not really the end of the world, even with some acrylic paints. They can tend to be pretty translucent, so layering within painting is pretty normal, I think, as well as layering colours to get other shades, which I kind of thought these would do a better job, but I found particularly with the black paper, using the blue as an undertone did not work. I had to put the blue over the red, which felt a little unusual just because it works so well on the brown paper. You can see how different they look, not only colors but proportions. So next I want to show you close up how this kind of soaks into the paper a little bit. This one I did on paint, over paint on paper. You can see it needs a couple of coats to really get like a solid color, but not too bad. The second set was the brand Languo. You get 9 colours per pack and £3.20 each. These colours were a lot more my vibe compared to the other ones, but I guess that's because you choose a pack of, say, all blue, all pink, green, etc. So this was my pack of blue. I thought these all looked very vibrant. They had a thicker brush tip than the other one, a little more flexible, and very juicy pens. I thought the colour swatches matched up to the lids a lot better. You can see on the black though, there's a little bit of transparency issues, but really not the worst. They did really well, I thought. So that was the blue series. Next I have the grey brown series. And as you can see, doing the same tests on white and black paper. Now here, this white was so bright, especially on the white paper. On the black, it looked kind of dry. I did do 2 coats by accident just because I really thought it was going to be amazing. The black was super pigmented. So of the grey brown series, I do think on black paper they look very similar. They look a lot better on the white paper. So let's test the red yellow series. There's 1 brown. The rest were looking okay, not doing very well on the black paper. I think overall, and you'll probably agree with me, the blue ones did the best on the black paper. But I do really like the shade difference of the greys on the white paper and not the black. It's good to test stuff like this before going straight in to a piece of art. Here, I'm just testing a little bit of overlaying. You can see the dark colours do very well. The white, terrible. The yellow was kind of all right, just not great over the black. I thought I would do a picture with just this brand of markers. Here you can see how pigmented the blue is. It's absolutely gorgeous, but I did find that with this brand that if you're drawing or coloring a lot, it dries out very quickly, but just leaving it to the side or giving it a quick shake does rejuvenate it again. So here it is, scribble, scribble, scribble. You can see me doing a second coat, and when it dried, it did kind of dry differently. You'll see. And this was 2 different shades of blue. I love this color, very cobalt and yummy. But you can see it doesn't soak into the paper too much, especially compared to the next set of markers that you'll see. Like, it sits on, it's very pigmented, and I think it looks pretty good. Not very good for blending though. So next I have this painting I did a couple of years ago. I've lost my original photo, so I can't remember if I finished it, but I just wanted to add some subtle details like some little blades of grass and flowers, which I knew were already there. I think this did a pretty good job over the top of paint, and I think this is probably what I would do with these acrylic markers in the future, is just keep them for adding details over my paintings. Although I do have some really nice sets of detail brushes now, which I don't think I had then. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, I can't remember. My brushes don't tend to have the longest lives, as I can forget about them sometimes. But this is so perfect, so easy, so clean. 10 out of 10 for adding details to existing paintings. So I wanted to try and finally finish this. This is also an old picture, which I've lost the original, as I take a lot of pictures in the woods, just a gnarly, crusty tree. But unfortunately, you can see how dry the white was for this. It was a little bit disappointing. The other shades of grey were nice and juicy. I did notice some of them were more difficult to get finer details than others. I don't know if this is a quality control issue or what, but... So this is the third and final set of acrylic markers I got from the company Ningbo. It didn't actually say the brand on the packet, but this was the company name written on the back. And you get 60 acrylic markers. These looked very similar to the Kissen markers in shape and size. The color was obviously different, and the nib was very different. So these were what I believe is called a bullet nib. The Languo were the nicest brush tip that there were, and the Kissen ones were kind of similar shape and size, but a brush tip. These Ningbo ones, I thought they were pretty bad, to be honest. They soaked into the paper, and it was very hit or miss which ones were pigmented. Some of them just soaked straight in and disappeared, especially with the black paper. And even on the brown paper, you can see it on the first drawing, which I kind of gave up on. It was a very subtle pastel look, even with a few coats. And I think because the brush tip was very hard, the paper felt like it was disintegrating beneath me. So yeah, I gave up and decided to test a few, because some of them were actually really good pens. And they did actually just feel like felt tip markers. You can see here that blue one was amazing. And out of the pinks and purples I tested, I would say 2 out of 10 were decent. The rest were a bit rubbish. But I will say that there was one particular shade of blue of the Ningbo that were better than the Kissen ones, which I was a little bit surprised at. But saying that, they were both the kind of the cheaper options. So yeah, not great. I also wanted to test to see if they got wet, how they would withstand that. You can see here the Languo ones stayed dry, and then one of the pinky purple ones smudged of the Ningbo. And this is them all dry. So pretty good, I would say. I don't know what was in that one color that didn't work out. But here I'm going to use these Ningbo ones on this tree again. You can see they're very translucent. There are a few that are opaque and do layer well, like this one, which was a little bit rare. The black one was incredible. super opaque, too opaque for this drawing. I kind of think I ruined it a bit. And this one was like water. I did another picture solely with the Ningbo ones to see what I could achieve with it. A lot of layering. It was nice that there were so many colors and I was kind of able to achieve a lot more with that at least than I could with the Kissen ones, for example. Although I did have to add extra details with the Languo ones. As you can see, this one is just doing the same detailing and it's just soaking straight into the paper. So I didn't finish my drawings, so I can't show you anything else. But overall, I would say the Languo set of 9 colours were the best. So if you do want to buy them, I think £3.20 is really good for markers. I'm not sure because I've never bought acrylic markers before. But from what I experienced, all 3 brands were fun to use as it was a learning experience. Obviously, on dark paper compared to white paper, there were a lot of differences. I will still use all the pens that I've bought as I hate waste. But I can only really recommend the Languo ones. If you found this useful, please like and comment and subscribe.